All right, hello everybody. This is Heather Stocking with the Athabasca Advocate, and we are here today with Mayor Colleen Powell talking about what happened at council last night and taking your questions. So, Mayor Powell, at council, there was an increase in the Fortis and the AltaGas fees uh, that went from 10% to 12%, and Councillor Traynor was the only one that voted against that. So we're asking today, why do you think this was the best choice given the economic times?
I think there's two reasons why it's a good choice. I've got a third one, but the first two are about 30% of the buildings in this community pay no property taxes whatsoever. That would include all government buildings, all healthcare buildings, all educational institutions, all churches. By doing this franchise fee, which is not very much per month increase on individuals, we're able to get contributions from those buildings to help maintain the services in town, which they take advantage of, same as everybody else.
Right.
The second reason, I can't remember what it is. um, the companies make the decision to put this on your property tax or on your bills for gas and power. That is their decision, not ours.
Okay.
We are not charging you that. They are. They have a choice to do it any other way they so wish. It's a minuscule amount in comparison to the property taxes, and I think that if you did a similar increase in your property taxes, it would be a significant increase, and again, would only be charged to those people who have properties, to businesses who have properties, and not to the university, not to the churches, not to the government buildings, and so forth. So I think it's a better decision. I know Councillor Traynor very much wants to ensure that we keep any increases to zero if possible and a minimum amount. And I understand that point of view. A lot of people are suffering right now. Mm-hmm. This is a minuscule amount to raise. And actually Fortis had already built in a 2% increase when they presented the information to us. Does that help?
Apparently it's not streaming.
It's counting live, 2 minutes and 48 seconds.
Okay, all right. We are apparently live, so we're just going to continue on. Councillor Belay said last night that he would rather cut services than raise the property taxes. Would this mean no property tax increase, or would that still be on the table?
Well, it's still on the table. There's only one vote.
Okay.
That's a flippant response. We have to look at our budget, look at what our costs are, look at the ability of property owners and business owners to pay property taxes, and make a decision from there. And if there's any increase, decrease, stay flat, needs 4 votes.
Okay.
This is a sidebar. We now have 6 councillors since Mike Airchuk had to resign due to his job being in British Columbia. That means that 3-3 votes always fail.
Right.
So you need 4 votes to get what you want. So frankly, I want to look at the budget. I want to look at what services we're offering. If we have to make cuts, I need to know where they are before I'm going to vote either way on this. Our municipal grants are going down every year. The cost of the RCMP, which right now is roughly 2% on your property taxes. We raised taxes 4% last year. We get 2. We stick the other 2% in an envelope and send it to Edmonton for RCMP costs. That's brand new.
Right.
And that's going up for the next 2 years until we are paying 30% of RCMP costs. So how are we going to manage that? With our costs going up and our tax rate, we don't know. Again, in COVID and in the general economic climate, we're not sure what our assessment base is anymore. I don't know if properties are worth less than last year or more than last year. I don't know if we're going to have many defaults. So far, we've been pretty good. But I know that with people losing work and businesses, I know retail's doing okay, but maybe not everybody else. Are we going to lose businesses? Are we going to gain businesses? These are questions we have to answer in the future. And I don't have a crystal ball.
Right. Okay, so if you're just tuned in, we do have a few viewers online. This is Heather Stocking with the Athabasca Advocate, and we are here live talking to Mayor Colleen Powell and taking your questions. If you do have questions, please type them into the chat and we will ask Mayor Powell. So we have been discussing the increase last night that Council made on the AltaGas and Fortis fees from 10% to 12%. There was the discussion that services might be cut. And so is that actually a possibility?
Yes.
It is? Okay.
We have to look at everything. What services would we cut? With the multiplex, which is one of our bigger expenses, I think it's the biggest actually, I might be wrong there. We have an agreement with the county to split the operational costs 50-50. And those costs have been going up a lot over the last couple of years. I very much want to see those costs start to come down. However, it's difficult this year because you can't bring groups in. I don't know if what the groups are going to be like with hockey and curling and the field house. I do know a little about the pool because I go there a lot, and I know my class tends to be fairly full. But I don't know what it's like for the rest of the day. So I don't think they're going to be getting the kind of revenue they've had in the past. So that makes us look other places as well. Where would we cut? I don't think people would be happy if we used the Edmonton approach to snow clearing, which would mean you don't clear the residential areas.
Yeah.
That's a big saving. I'm not willing to do that right now. So again, maybe there's some bitty things we can save. I know we're down one staff member in the office from a year ago. That saves a fair bit of money. But we have to keep looking.
Right. Okay. I don't see any questions from viewers yet. Let's talk about Muskeg Creek.
Okay, fine, yes. Muskeg Creek, we had to take out the North Bridge. For those of you who are new to the community, there are 15 kilometers of absolutely gorgeous trails along the Muskeg Creek. Half of it's owned, the west half is owned by the university. The east side is owned by the town. There's 3 bridges. This year, Muskeg Creek, this little tiny creek, grew and expanded to the point that it took out all the supports for the North Bridge. We've repaired it many times in the past. We are told by our engineers and by our staff that that bridge is no longer repairable. So we took it out. We received 40 letters in response. They weren't happy, and I understand that. We set up a meeting with the community group that had been established as an ad hoc group at this time. And the day before, we had a public works meeting, and our superintendent and our water guy told us about the amount of erosion on that creek. We have got bank slumpage all through the creek. Years ago, the government, and this is in the 80s, I understand, the provincial government put up what's called gabion baskets. They're big rocks that are wired together in some way. I'm not an expert on this stuff by any means, to make the creek solid. They're gone. They're completely gone.
So been washed away.
Washed away.
Okay.
And this erosion might actually affect, we think, we're hoping not, but it could affect even the Highway 2 bridge over the creek.
Right, heading up to the university.
So also I've been told that the trails themselves in many places, you've got your nice flat trail and then you've got slumpage. Mm-hmm. That can be done by volunteer work or by our guys or by the university guys. But the bridges and fixing those, replacing those, has to be done so that we limit our liability. That means the insurance company has to approve it. That means engineered bridges. The days are gone when you can get a bunch of people in hammers and go in and do it.
Okay.
We used to do that, but we are looking, and we've had a number of people come forward saying there are approaches that you can use that will limit your costs. What we don't know is where we can put the bridges. Should we put them back in the same place, or, and I asked the group this, should we put them back in the same place, or is there a better place? And they said, oh, well, there's a thought. So these are thoughts to think, you might say, and it's not going to happen tomorrow. The bigger problem for the Nordic Ski Club is that the junior or the beginner circle is right by where that north bridge is, and that doesn't allow them to do a loop.
Right.
So they're having their meeting sometime this month, and I'm hoping they will bring information forward. So that's the problem. So what are we doing? We've met with the group, and I met with the person who started it, Jeff Loken, and we've agreed that he would try to set up an ad hoc or a committee properly, and when we have our organizational meeting, which by law we do every year, I'm going to add an ad hoc committee to put one counselor and maybe an alternate on the community group so that we are working together, and then we can listen to the experts, listen to the users, and try and come up with a solution that will take time, but
Okay.
we are looking at this.
We do have a comment from Facebook. Maybe the town should put in a low-level crossing. Has that been considered?
I don't know what that means.
It would allow the water to flow over when it's high, but
It's a thought. I'm really good on legislation and policy. When it comes to construction stuff, I don't know very much.
fair enough.
But we can certainly add that. Somebody had suggested a culvert, but when you've got 5 feet of water, it's going to break your culvert, I am told. So we can't do that. But a low-level crossing, I thought maybe you just walk across it. But we have to accommodate both the hikers and the skiers. So I don't know if that would work for the skiers. It
Okay.
might.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But again, and this isn't an argument, this is a perhaps, if you've got those banks slumping and washed away, your low level's going to have the same problem. I would think. I don't know that. Maybe there's a way of fixing it.
Maybe.
But we've had a number of suggestions, and let's add that one to the list.
Okay. So you've met with this group twice now?
Well, I've met with the whole group. It was representatives from the university, the community group, and counselor trainer Belay and Graham, our outside services. I'm sorry, it's now Public Works. Public Works Superintendent, our new guy, Graham Douglas. His father actually was superintendent years ago.
Right.
And Rachel Ramey, our CAO.
Okay.
So
One big
it
meeting.
was a good
and then-
meeting.
Okay.
And then I met privately with Jeff,
Okay.
and he will take what we talked about back to his group, and I took it back to council. So
Okay. I am going to touch a bit on the Native Friendship Centre last night.
Yes.
Came and did they want to do a MAT program. They have some funding, and they were looking for a facility. There are a few groups that I'm aware of. The Friendship Center, of course, the ministerial group. There's a Facebook group that's having a meeting tonight called Athabasca Cares, the Shelter Project. Has the town ever considered bringing those volunteers together in like a loose task force sort of?
I think, excuse me, I think that this is a community action, and I think the community should do this with our support. Once we start directing, it becomes a very different thing. And we've been looking at this, I don't know for how many years. Now we've got some action. We've got the Native Friendship Centre. I know the Anglican Church, the United Church, and parts of the ministerial, as well as others. I would hope they would get together and work together on this.
Mm-hmm.
What we are looking at doing or helping with, we don't have any buildings that are empty except one, and I don't think that would be appropriate. That would be the brick school.
Oh, okay.
Well, I don't know. But Councillor Belay, Robert Belay, suggested that some of these camps are empty, and they've got those big bunkhouses. What I used to call skips, which are trailers without wheels,
Hmm.
You bring one into town in a suitable location, you have to have access to water and sewer. We can help with that. So we're looking for a space. And Councillor Edwards, Ida Edwards, said she talked to some business people who have empty land that it might be usable. There's very little public land out there that is available. We own very little. We used to, but way before I got elected, they decided that industry should own that land, not the town. Humph. Uh, so we have very little. And it has to be somewhat close to downtown, but in an area that isn't going to affect the enjoyment of the neighborhood of the people who live there.
Right.
If you see what I mean, that's actually a legislated requirement. Um, so right now, and it has to be done pretty quickly, we'll look for a location and then look for something. And I would say to anybody out there, if you have an empty building or if you have empty space that you are willing to work with, get in touch with the town or the Native Friendship Centre and let them know. Anything is useful. Mrs. Houle last night suggested there was about 6 to 8 people. I know last year when we talked to the bank companies, they said they had about 15 sleeping in their ATMs, which they're not allowing anymore because there was a problem with about 4 people.
Right.
So there's a group of people who are just simply need a place to sleep. And this is for the nighttime. It's not a homeless shelter. It would be, she was suggesting 9 to 9. And it's a mat on the floor and a blanket, and you can get warm
Right.
and sleep. That's what it's for. And there would be a limit of people, and they would have to draw up rules, of course.
Right. She's mentioned that they have some grant money they could use for security, and I know that was the Anglican Church said they might be able to provide, a meal or something. They also had the same kind of MAT program idea. So
Yes,
I think maybe if they work together, that would probably be.
I did talk to Reverend Christabel, and she had mentioned that the Anglican Church had been doing a soup kitchen, so there might be something there. We'll see. But I'm hoping that this has legs, and we can get something accomplished. And we'll certainly support anything that they want to do. And again, it comes from the community, and this is better than top down, always.
Mhm. Okay. The Chamber Awards are coming up. I think you wanted to say something
Oh, I
about.
did, yes, just a brief thing. Next week is the Chamber Awards. We will be giving the Lifetime Achievement Award, or I will, here in council chambers. Um, and they're doing it all on Zoom. The nominations are on Facebook, and I think they're in the paper. So I think you can still vote.
Yeah, right now until, was it the 11th? I can't remember off the top of my head. There's a new award. And so if you go to the Chamber Facebook page, or we've shared it on the Athabasca Advocate page, there's a Business of the Year award that's new and gets voted on by the public. So we encourage everybody to go into
Okay.
that and vote.
All right, well, that's excellent information. This award traditionally is done as a gala dinner, and it's a lot of fun, and there's a little bit of excitement. And I did say on the radio this morning, it wasn't until I went to one of those I discovered we had a puppeteer in town. I think that's amazing, and he's been in business now several years and is making a success of it. So I'm really pleased to see that. So it's a time to celebrate our local entrepreneurs and give them a little bit back.
Yeah, yeah. Hockey Studios. If anybody wasn't aware, they make puppets and they take custom orders and send them around the world. So definitely a interesting business here in Athabasca. If you weren't aware of it, we can talk about the SIP funding. Specifically, there is money that's going to be going to the Water Commission. There is 1.043 million from the federal government, 1.518 million from the provincial, and then there was a previous grant that the commission had that actually allowed them to get this money. And can you talk about what that's going towards and what that means?
It's going towards the intake pipe. When the Water Commission was built, It's a project between the county, the village of Boyle, and the town. Before that, we had our own water treatment plant, which is where the intake pipe is. We did talk about moving it up to the new water commission, but the expense was eye-watering. And we didn't replace the intake pipe at that time because at that time it cost $1 million. And we'd already spent too much, so we didn't do it. Um, it sounds silly that you're spending $2.8 million on a pipe in the river to bring water in, but it has a lot of doodads on it, you might say, that take out a lot of the bad stuff from the river, which will reduce the costs of treating the water once it gets to the water treatment plant. There's a screen, a special screen they use. I know that much. And again, I'm not a technical person, but we did get the money from the federal government and the provincial government, and for that we are incredibly grateful. We need to, I mean, one of our prime purposes is to ensure that there's safe water, and this will ensure that. The water treatment plant, when it was built, was about the best we could do, and now we've got a pipe that matches the plant.
So something that I didn't realize is that the Water Commission is about 10 years old.
About that.
What was it before that?
Before that, the village of Boyle was taking water from Skeleton Lake. And there was, if you look back in history, there was a big to-do about that. And we had our own little plant, and the county had nothing. I think Collinton had a little plant.
Okay.
Yes, that was about it. So this allowed for water to go from the town to Collinton, to the village of Boyle, to grasslands, to Wandering River. And if you are anywhere on that pipeline, you can hook up. So throughout the county, there are several places where you might have a line in and then 2 or 3 people or 2 or 3 farms, if they're close, hooking on. So this has fundamentally changed the way water is used in this area.
Okay. Last night, council made a decision in regards to the old home hardware building. The first was to approve a permit for a change of use, and the second was to approve partial demolition of the building. Can you give a brief overview of what is proposed to be going into that building?
Dennis McNeil has received a change of use permission to turn it into a brew pub called Old Man Winter Brew Pub. The building consists of the old Revelstoke building, and then there was an addition added on years later. They are taking down the old Revelstoke building, turning it into a patio so that in the summertime you can sit and have a sandwich and a beer outside. It also opens up the river, which is part of what we want to do.
Okay. And then what potential impact could that have on the community?
I think it'll have nothing but a good impact. It will use the riverfront more effectively. It will add another business to the community. It will probably bring people in. Brew pubs are very popular.
Right. He mentioned last night also that they would consider naming some of the brews with after local people maybe, or events that took place. So that could be a good tourist attraction.
Everything could. Yes, it's all good.
Right.
I hope he goes ahead with it.
Okay. All right. Well, we had a little glitch getting started, but we are actually going to continue just on schedule here, and we'll be closing out. I want to thank everyone who joined us on Facebook Live and asked questions, and be sure to follow the Town of Athabasca and the Athabasca Advocate Facebook pages, and turn on notifications for live events. We will be doing this again, and if you want to watch this video again, we will be uploading it to the townandcountrytoday.com website under /town-talk, or you can watch for the link to that website on the Facebook pages. You can join us next time, October 21st at 1 p.m., where we will discuss the next town council meeting and answer your questions again.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.